What's up, everyone? All right, well, I hope you guys all had a great weekend. It's Monday morning, and I'm locking up a green day here. We can look at the P&L, $14,409.82. Green on 4 out of the 5 stocks I traded. And interestingly, today, my biggest loser, the stock I went the most red on, ended up becoming my biggest winner, the stock that I'm up the most on. But today was a little bit of a rough start because when I first sat down, I was very impressed and happy to see VSTE from Friday had gapped up 100%. If you remember Friday, it closed, well, let's see, we went up to about $8. It was up 300%. It then pulled back and it closed after hours around like 450. This morning, I sit down and it hit a peak of almost $11 a share. Now, unfortunately, by the time I was sitting down, that big pop was at like 4 a.m. I totally missed that. No surprise there. We'll pull up the chart so we can take a look at it. But I was pleased to see that it was up as much as it was because I just thought, well, this is a good sign for today. We've got a stock that's, look, I mean, it's up, 100%. This is good to see. So this is what our pre-market chart looked like. Basically at 4 a.m., VSTE goes from 450 straight up to nearly $11. That is amazing. Now you could say, well, geez, how much volume did that have? It's 415,000 shares in 1 minute. The next minute had another 400,000 shares. So by 4:03 a.m., this had over 1 million shares of volume. Actually, I'm sorry. This is a 5-minute chart. Nonetheless, by 4:15, it had over 1 million shares of volume, which is still a lot of volume for that early in the morning. So it ends up dropping back down here to VWAP, giving another attempt through the high, but this kind of spells disaster because this creates that double top and it's with these topping tail candles here. This is not the pattern we like to see. I really don't like seeing that. So the problem here is when you have this kind of pattern, if it does get back up here again, you've got a high likelihood of another rejection. So you have to think of this pattern. Think of these little spikes as the ears, and this is a little piggy. And you're going to be a little piggy and greedy if you try to buy up here because this thing is going to drop. So don't be a greedy little piggy. This is a double top. All right. So this was no good. I said, well, unfortunately, probably not going to work. I mean, look, sometimes we do end up grinding higher, and if we can break over and hold above that level, but if it just spikes up again, it'll probably reverse again. So coming into 7 a.m., I said, I'm just going to sit and watch it. I don't think I'm going to take any trades on it, and I didn't. It ends up just selling off here. It's back down at 6:30. It's still up versus the after hours close on Friday, but it's pulled back quite a bit. So then the second stock that we were talking about was NUWE. This was also on the watch list from from Sunday. Yesterday, I uploaded my watch list, and this one did something kind of similar. You've got this little piggy chart where you've got the little piggy ears here, and then you've got this giant piggy nose and these stupid little piggy eyes. And so when it came back up here, I was like, nope, I'm not touching it. You've got these big topping tails. I really don't think it's safe. Rejection, comes back up, rejects, and then honestly, out of nowhere, at the open, this thing rips up into a halt at about 320. It opens, it goes straight to another halt, and then it opens, it dips to 4 and dumps almost to a halt down, bounces up, and is now coming back down. So, you know what? I'm impressed. I didn't trade it because I just felt like I just couldn't get my head around managing risk on it. It just didn't really make sense to me. So NUWE and VSTE were the two piggy stocks from Friday that, gave some opportunities depending on, how early you were and this and that. But for me, I didn't touch them. My thought was that I'm looking for fresh news, which, as we know, fresh news has been what's been working the best. Now, by the way, we've got Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales coming up here at the end of the month of November. If you want to do a 2-week trial at Warrior Trading, you can try out what it's like to be a member of my community and to use the software I use every single day before you potentially take advantage of those Black Friday sales. So I'll put a link for the 2-week trial. It's 2 weeks for $20. Linked in the top of the comments, pinned to the top of the comments, linked in the description. And if you want to do that trial, we'd love to have you. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that. Now, for me, what has been working the best over the last several weeks has been trading fresh breaking news. So my first trade of the day today, SYTA. SYTA And you'll notice I'm down $29.51 on it. So I started the day with a loser. And, I was so bent out of shape over it. I was like, you know what? I'm going back to bed. This is ridiculous. And I wasn't that upset about it. It's only $29. But here's the problem. SYTA is a stock with a 780,000 share float with breaking news. Secures a $2.5 million order. And I'm like, okay, that's a headline I can get my head around. The daily chart, lots of room to the 200 moving average. Reverse split a little while ago. Did have a high volume day not that long ago. So the biggest issue on the daily chart is the somewhat recent, I'm just going to hide the 200 EMA here just so we can get this centered better. So this is sort of our biggest issue, is that we recently had this high volume day and it was red, 120 million shares of volume. So, however, in spite of that, the last few days have been pretty flat. So when this popped up on the scans, I looked at it and I said, all right, SYTA, I like the float. I like the price. I mean, the price is a little low, but I think I can work with it. So what I ended up doing was buying, let's see, this was the first spike, and I'm going to go on to a 10-second chart here for a second. So 10-second time frame, we'll get zoomed in on this. Sometimes it's helpful because when news first comes out, it moves so quickly, the price in some of these stocks, that when you look at the 1 minute, you can't kind of see the nuance of these micro pullbacks. So it pops up to 144, it drops down. I bought this dip right here. It goes back up to 144. It drops down. I stopped out. Then it goes back to 48. I was like, gosh darn it. And then it comes right back down. So I was like, well, I guess it doesn't really matter. So a real roller coaster of emotions in this 2-minute window here. Anyways, was down, took 5,000 shares on it, which is my max position until I'm up over $1,000 on the day, and was down $29.51. Okay, doesn't really matter, not a big deal, but a little disappointing. I had a red day on Friday, right? So I said, come Monday morning, the best course of action for me is just to try to build my cushion. And then if I can get a cushion quickly, boom, size up, get aggressive. But if I can't get a cushion quickly, stay sized down. So sized down relatively with 5,000 share max position here. And I got nothing on the first trade. So I'm like, all right, well, that was a little bit of a bummer. So then all of a sudden at 7:02, NLSP is hitting the scanners. And I pull it up and I see that the price on this is $4, roughly $4.50. It's a 513,000 share float, another low float stock. It has a news headline. And so on this one, I'm like, all right, I think I can get my head around this. This makes sense. Now, this was a little bit of a risky trade because I had just had the rejection loss on SYTA, but it popped up right here. It held. And so I jumped in right here as this candle broke, and I got filled at 492. I bought 1,600 shares, and then it goes to 515. I added at 515, and it goes up to 560. I actually added for the breakthrough 550, and on this one, I took my profit off the table up here at 6. I was like, you know what? Just take your profit, lock it up. So I took my profit there at 6, and then on this one, let's see. My next trade was just a few minutes later, right here. So it pops up to here, it then sells off and starts to rally back up. So on the first trade here, I got about $3,600 of profit, which is not bad. Had about 3,500 shares full size. Didn't get quite $1 a share, but close to it. So $3,500, $3,600 profit first trade. So then it comes back up here, and I am starting to trade this again right in this area. So it gets back above VWAP, drops down, comes right here, pulls back, right here, pulls back, and I'm adding back right here at 527, looking for the move up to 540, 550. Stalls out right around here, dips down, pushes a little higher. I get myself up to 5,000 on the day. It pushes even higher, goes up to 6 right here. And then at this point, I'm up $6,000 on the day, and I'm like, you are in the driver's seat. You are cruising here. What are we looking for? A squeeze through the highs. Right here by 10,000 shares. Now I'm like, you're ready to take full size. Let's do it. 10,000 shares in 620. It dumps, and I stop out for a $6,000 loss. So just like that, I went from up $6,000 on the day to up 100 on the day. And I thought, boy, that was quick. I didn't really see that coming. You know, I was buying for this squeeze higher and then drops back down. What in the world? Well, the good news, I suppose, is that, as you can see, it did rally back up. Now I'm trying to remember, where was my next trade on it? So, must have been right. It must have been on the second attempt here, yeah. So anyways, I take the loss right here. That little topping tail got me. So I got in thinking we were going to break through this high and squeeze up to 50, 60, 70, up to $7. Drops down, comes back up, pulls back, comes back up right here, and I got back in. Now, on this one, we got a little bit of a curl back here up to 640, and then there was another trade that I took down here, right there. We were below VWAP, and when we got back above VWAP, right there, I got back in. Got to squeeze back up to 6, about 40 cents a share. So, you know, I got a little bit there, I got a little bit there, and then those were my last trades. So I did end up making back $3,700 of the lot of, you know, well, you know, I peaked at 6,000, made back about half of it, which was good. But unfortunately, I also churned more shares, you know, and commissions will be higher. So kind of disappointing, but for whatever reason, this one just, you know, it popped there and then just jackknifed back down. It's not exactly a jackknife, but a hard rejection. Okay, so that was NLSP. So then after NLSP, the next one that I traded, let's see. So a bunch of trades here on NLSP. Okay, right. The next one was STAF, STAF. So up 4,300 on STAF. So STAF, I jumped in this one in my first position at 405. This was just after 730. All right, so 730, back to here. Stock has breaking news. So these are all breaking news stocks. So trading breaking news. So breaking news comes out on this at about 730. And it pops here from $1.60 up to $2.80, pulls back up to $3, pulls back up to here, pulls back, and I took my first trade for the break of 4, which was, you know, got a small winner. So I got in right here at 4. It goes up to 420. So I'm in, and then I'm back out. Very small trade. Nothing really that exciting. So then it dips down here. I buy a dip off of VWAP, added 2,500 shares at 357, another 2,500 shares at 361. Not bad. And it bounces off of this level here and comes all the way back up to 4. So nice little profit. It drops down again. I do another dip. It bounces back up. It drops down again. I do another dip. It comes back up. So I got some really nice dip trades on this. I connected this blue support line from these early lows, and then I just kept buying dips off this trend line and then taking profit when it would go higher. So eventually it broke that trend line and started to kind of stall out. And at that point, the MACD crossed over on the 1-minute chart. And I was like, all right, well, that's enough of that. So that was STAF. Got some good trades there. Then after that, so now at this point, I'm up, must have been close to back to 5,000 on the day. What was NLSP? Yeah, it must be. Yeah, I was back to 5,000, a little over 5,000 on the day, 6,000 maybe. So then after all those trades on STAF, got a couple more trades on NLSP. That was the trade where it was below VWAP and took that curl back up. So that was this trade right in here. So got that trade. That was around 740. Then, or it was 745, something like that. Then we had, after that, ADN pops up. So ADN, news at the top of the hour, 8 a.m. And I jumped in it. First trade was long ADN, about 280. So we'll look at this on the 1-minute chart. So this thing pops up here, and I got in basically, so it pops up here. I didn't trade it. It drops down, and when it curls back up, I got in at 280. Goes up to 296 and then dumps back down. I lost 1,100 on that trade. So I was like, okay, this one's a little choppy. It comes back up again. I didn't trade it here. I was like, I don't trust it. I'm not sure if I like it. It pulls back. So I'm down 1,100 on it. And when it comes back up here, I said, if it can break 3, I'm interested. It breaks 3, and I took this trade right here from about 325 up to 380. I then bought this pullback right here from 380. We got the move up to 440. Then it pulls back and got choppier. So that right there, front side of the move, MACD open, nice trades. So went from red 15 or 1100, 1200 on it, whatever it was, to green 4400. That was my biggest, from my biggest loser and my biggest winner. Now, in reality, my biggest loss of the day was on NLSP when I bought the position up at whatever it was, 620-ish, and it drops to 670 or whatever. But nonetheless, but that ADN was the one that I went the deepest red on. So that was a nice recovery. But you know what was interesting on this? This was on short sale restriction. And I noticed that we were seeing some pegged orders on the ask. So the way a pegged order works is basically, well, when stock is on short sale restriction, you can't short by hitting the bid. You can only short on an uptick. And so what you can do, and let me see if, I can't remember if I can do this in light speed. So, okay, so a primary peg here. So if I did a primary peg and I did, now would this peg on the ask or on the bid? I can't remember. You might have to go into your settings and create a hotkey for it. But what this would do essentially, if you do a pegged order on the ask and you press the sell button, then the order stays at the ask even if the ask moves. So if you put your order at 322, and then someone cuts in front of you at 321, your order automatically moves to join theirs at 321. Someone cuts in front of them at 318, you jump immediately down to 318. Then all of a sudden, you know, if there's buyers, people buy your shares. So the stock won't go up until your order gets filled, but it'll come down automatically. And so the way you can detect this is when you see a big sell order on the offer, and that sell order, it's actually happening right now, that 5,000 share order, it's probably an iceberg. So see, look at that. See, that it was kind of hard because that was very quick and it wasn't a really big order. It's easier to tell when it's a bigger order. But what'll happen is you'll have a big order, like 25,000 shares, and it's noticeable because you're like, oh, it's a 25,000 share order and it's at, 26. And then all of a sudden the order's at 25, 24, 23, 22, 21. The order size isn't changing, but it's just moving down. And it's moving down faster than someone could cancel and replace the order. It's happening instantly, and that's a pegged order. So that gave me the clue that probably some more sophisticated traders are shorting this. That was my suspicion. Now, you could use a pegged order to sell, but I kind of thought it's probably because it's on short sale restriction and someone's trying to short it. So we were seeing these pegged orders trying to kind of push the price back down, and they do push the price back down until either the order gets canceled or people buy up those shares. The thing is, they can kind of really put pressure on the stock coming down because you'll get no relief. The stock will not bounce up until that order has been filled or it's been canceled. So if you did a pegged order for like 1 million shares, then the only way other people could get out before you and sell the stock is if they hit the bid. So then every time they hit the bid, and a new person puts the ask a penny lower, penny lower, penny lower, your order just automatically keeps pushing it down. So it like is sort of this wall that holds it back. Now you can have pegged orders on the bid as well, which we don't see as often because, why would you? The reason that we see them on the offer is because of the short sale restriction, because you can't short on an uptick. So the way to short it is to sell on the ask. And no one's going to put out 1 million share pegged order on the ask because they would fill with so much slippage going down. With that kind of share size, it would be a very strange thing to do. The only people that really sell that kind of share size usually are people who are insiders who are just trying to get out. And they're usually going to be more sophisticated in the way they sell to not try to, dump the price. But someone who's trying to go short and has no choice but to get in on the offer is sort of limited in what they can do. So anyways, this has got 47 million shares of volume. Right now you've got 5-6 cent spreads, and we definitely saw some pegged orders on the offer. So when I started seeing that, I also got kind of like, all right, this one, this is going to be a little bit of a tug of war. There's a little bit of a battle going on. So that was on ADN, and that was so that was almost the last stock I traded. Then I had a quick trade on COHN, Cone. Now this is a stock that popped up during the pandemic. This had news at 8:15 earnings. So it goes from 880 all the way up to a high of 1240. I jumped in as this started to pull away right here, sort of in the middle of the move. And I actually added at the top, as I sometimes do. I literally added at 1248, the literal high of day. Well, actually it was 1250, but basically added at high of day. And I kind of was thinking, because of how fast this went from 8 to 12, that if this thing keeps going, we could see a really crazy move. And high volume green candle, but relative volume was still, it's relatively high volume, but in comparison to other stocks, it's low volume. So anyways, light volume, and then boom, spikes up there on that news, and then it just stalled out. So ended up being a small winner, comes back down. And then after that, I was back to trading ADN. So got some more trades on ADN after 8:15. And then the last trade I took was on ADN coming up to 9 a.m. And I didn't take any trades past then. I mean, I would have been happy to. I just didn't see any more opportunities. And we didn't see any other fresh headlines that came out at the top of the hour. So anyways, that was it. And although NUWE pulled away nicely at the open, I missed that one. Just kind of wasn't expecting it, and had that piggy chart. So didn't take a trade on that one. And then, there were some others that popped up, but OMIC, this one was up earlier. One thing I'll say that was a little confusing with NLSP was that it's a merger catalyst. And merger catalysts can be confusing. Earnings, new contracts, FDA approvals, that's a pretty straightforward headline generally. But a merger headline is a little trickier. The problem with a merger headline is that to understand the merger, you have to understand, is this company being bought by someone else? Is the current company disappearing? Like, what's happening? What's the transaction look like? What happens to shareholders of this current company? What's the transaction valued at? And the headline on this was NLS Pharmaceutical to merge with this other company. So definitive merger agreement that combines two companies so they can focus on advancing this and that. Companies plan on initiating phase 2A studies. It's like, okay. NLS anticipates divesting legacy assets. So now that's confusing. What the proceeds will be, proceeds, so like I said, you start to be like, wait a second. So post-transaction, 85% of the other company's stakeholders and 15% of the new in exchange for 100% of the new. So you start to get, I don't see any numbers here, right? So there's no numbers. So that gets confusing. And honestly, STAF was a similar headline. STAF, STAF, was also a merger headline. And I was like, see, I don't love those headlines. But I don't want to disagree with the fact that the stock clearly was moving, and they both were. So, I just usually don't love those kind of headlines. Anyways, so that was a little bit of a challenge. But then, of course, we had COHN, which had earnings headline, and that one didn't end up doing as well, which is kind of surprising. So anyways, it's all kind of confusing. But now coming into the election, of course, tomorrow is the election. But trading tomorrow, don't expect anything exciting. I mean, tomorrow will just be a regular day. We're not going to have any results, of course, tomorrow morning while we're trading. So, and realistically, if this election is as close as they say it's going to be, we probably won't even have a result on Wednesday morning. We'll only have a firm result if it's a blowout. And if it's a win for Harris, then we know that without question, it's going to be debated, or it's going to be, they'll be like, probably litigation around it of making sure the count was correct. And, I think if Trump has a blowout victory, Harris is not, I don't think she's going to, I mean, who knows? Maybe she'll contest it. But if it's a blowout victory for him, it'll probably be, that's that. If it's a blowout victory for her, he'll contest it, and there'll be, it'll probably seem, maybe like she did win, but people will be like, well, but maybe not, and let's figure out this. And so there'll be sort of things hanging in the balance. So I just expect that unless we have a blowout win for Trump on Wednesday morning when we, are getting up and sitting down, anything other than that is going to result in sort of an extended period of a little bit of uncertainty of, how this is all going to pan out. So that could create that it's just a wild card. So it's going to create some volatility because there's an unpredictable nature. Now, the DJT trade, is this I think was a buy the rumor, sell the news, because this thing went all the way up to $56 and then came all the way back down to 30. So people were buying it kind of going into the election, especially when the poly markets and everything were predicting he had such a high percentage chance of winning. But now, as we get really close to the sort of actual catalyst event, people are kind of maybe taking risk off. So, yeah, I mean, some people are thinking, well, if Trump wins, this is a buy. If he loses, sell it. But I don't know if it is really that straightforward. I think the opportunity has already passed. But who knows? So anyways, but I'm not taking trades on that. I'm not going to take any trades on the election because to me, that's kind of it's just a gamble. Nobody knows for sure what's going to happen. So I don't feel like gambling. I trade with a strategy that produces consistent outcome. And as long as I follow the rules of that strategy, I'll make far more than I would make on some gamble on who's going to win the election, right? It's just for me, not what I'm going to do. So anyways, I will be back at it first thing tomorrow morning. I hope you guys do check out the 2-week trial. You'll have access to my software, the scanners, the news feed, the chat room, my broadcast, everything else, a selection of classes from my Warrior Pro curriculum, and you can see what it's like to be a Warrior Pro member. So when our Black Friday sales begin, you will already know what it's like to be in this community and whether or not it's a good fit for you. So I would love to have you guys check it out. And I'll remind you, as always, trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so manage your risk, take it slow. And I'll see you guys back here. I'll be live streaming for members at Warrior Trading bright and early tomorrow morning.